2023 has been a fun year for audio, so myself, Resolve, and Golden Sound here are going to give out some awards.
Okay, so we have a number of categories here. We're going to start with the IM category. For the affordable IMs, the ones that we considered were the Project Red, so that's the Truth Ear Zero Red, the Truth Ear Nova, the 7Hz 02, the SimGot EM6L, and the Moondrop Blessing 3. Now, I know the Blessing 3 is more expensive, but we had to kind of cut it off somewhere, and we included a lot. And this year was really a year about affordable IEM, so there were a ton of them. And the winner for the best affordable IEM, in my mind at least, is the SimGot EM6L. It was a really tough call between this one and the Truth Ear 02. Because both of them represented great value for their price point, but I gave it to the SimGot EM6L just because it's an IEM that it does that V-shape kind of sound signature that a lot of people love very, very well, and I felt that it was kind of like, the best of the Harman-tuned IEMs for me, and there's a lot of them out there these days, and I feel like that's probably the best one, or one of the best ones. Now, for the high-end IEMs, we had the 64 Audio Velour come out, we had the Symphonium Crimson come out, and there were a number of other ones that didn't quite make the grade for this, but the big one that technically I believe came out last year, but we're playing a little bit fast and loose here with the year, that every single IEM reviewer has told me is the best IEM of the year is the Subtonic Storm. So that comes from our IEM team. That's Precog Vision, FC Construct, Listener. So the Subtonic Storm is the most insane high-end IEM that exists, or one of the most insane high-end IEMs that exists on the market. But people also regularly consider it to be the best. If you're looking for a review of that, our team has actually done a review. That'll be linked in the description. It's up on the audio files, up on headphones.com, so you could check that out. I personally haven't heard it, and that's one that's definitely on my radar to listen to for 2024.
If you think IEMs can't stage, you need to hear the Subtonic Storm.
Onto headphones. And with headphones, I'm going to defer to Cameron and DMS on this.
Yeah, we've got a few categories here, and don't forget at the end of this, we are doing an overall product of the year. But for headphones, we have 3 categories. We've got affordable, high-end open, and high-end closed. Just because there's too many things to really all narrow down in just this one section, we're saving that for product of the year.
Well, let's start with the affordable ones. And the ones we put there were the Moondrop Para, the Audeze MM100, and the Audeze Maxwell. So those are 3 headphones which are all under $500 and offer quite a lot for the money. DMS, did you have any particular thoughts on those 3 which immediately come to mind?
Yeah, the Para was something new this year, but it didn't really stand out to me. It's, like I said in my video on it, it's like Sundara with more treble, which is not anything that I've ever heard someone ask for. The MM100 I felt like was pretty compelling, and the Maxwell, well, the Maxwell sounds great.
I like the MM100. If anything, let alone the sound quality, which is fantastic, it's also one of possibly the best built headphone under 500. And Audeze kind of killing it,
yeah,
to be honest. The Maxwell, what's impressive about that is just how much it packs into that price. It offers so much more than competitors. It's not just about the sound quality, which is, again, great, but the feature set that offers makes it just an absolutely insane value compared to almost any other gaming headset available. It kind of pushed the market segment forward a bit, so I think it's got a well-deserved place there.
Yeah, and that is why, for the affordable category, we are giving it to the Audeze Maxwell.
Then high-end open headphones, for which we've got the Austrian Audio Composer, DCA Carina, the Headphone 2, Diana MR, Modhouse Tungsten, and the Meze Empyrean 2. There was some pretty exciting releases this year. It's actually not exactly all that easy to decide between them. Again, DMS, did you have any of those which you had some strong feelings on, one way or the other?
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt like the Composer was a big departure from what Austrian Audio has done before. It was actually a really, really solid headphone. DCA Carina, absolutely loved that because it's an E-stat that can actually do bass. The Headphone 2 had a big improvement in ergonomics over the Headphone 1. The Diana MR, I think, is probably the best thing Abyss has ever released. It's really, 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 really good. The Modhouse Tungsten, that was kind of one that came out of nowhere. Modhouse, known for the Argon, released a high-end, made in-house planar that is out of this world, and in a way is kind of the spiritual successor to HE6, and then Meze with their new Empyrean 2, which was another big departure from what they normally do, similar in terms of build and comfort, but in sound, it's, well, I'd say, would you guys say that's probably one of the best things Meze has done?
Oh, easily.
I haven't heard it yet. I'm very excited to, though, so have to refrain for now.
Either way, we have a lot of really, really good headphones for high-end open this year, which made this hard.
Yeah, it was quite tricky. And some of them were real big surprises as well. I've not heard any Austrian audio stuff before. I tried the Composer at CanJam for the first time, and I was really shocked. So we're looking forward to doing a full review on that. The DCA Carina, as you said, it's an E-stab that does bass properly. Thank you. That's awesome. The Diana MR felt like it took all of the best aspects of the different Diana models and put them all into one. The other Diana models, I liked them, but they all had something which I didn't like about them, whereas this just felt like it took all the best aspects. And the Modhouse Tungsten, the value proposition alone for $2,000, and there's a fair few people who are picking it over things like Susvara, it's, as you say, it's a bit of a spiritual successor to the HE6, and it's very impressive. This one was not easy. There are some absolutely fantastic headphones that came out this year, but we decided to give the best high-end headphone to the Modhouse Tungsten.
Yeah, it really is something special. You know, you don't see something like Tungsten coming out, well, really ever.
I was just going to say, with the Modhouse Tungsten, it really is a, you know, return to a kind of old school sound with that HE6, that spiritual successor to the HE6 concept. Yes, it is like insanely difficult to drive. I think that's also kind of the fun of it too. And then for sound quality, I mean, I can confirm as well, like this really is like something special. So it's worth putting on your radar.
Yeah, it is tricky to drive though. It's not that it needs a lot of power, it's that you need a huge amount of gain and voltage, more than most headphone amps provide. So you do have to be a little bit picky about what amp you're going to pair them with.
Stay tuned for our full reviews of the Modhouse Tungsten coming up here, because we did get sent a Tungsten. DMS got sent one as well, right?
I did. And that leads us into high-end closed-back headphones. Now, we only have two in this category, the Atrium Closed and the DCA E3, both of which knocked it out of the park this year. The E3 is one that I very recently covered, and that was a very, very surprising one for me personally.
Just to interject on that, this is with the recognition that the ZMF Bokeh also came out this year, but we haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I think it was late enough in the year that that'll probably be a next year thing. I did hear Bokeh briefly at SoCal, and it was nice. I'd love to spend more time with it, you know, in-house and all that.
Yeah, I liked what I heard at CanJam as well, but show floor impressions brief, can't actually give proper impressions of it, but what I did hear was good.
With all that said, though, for high-end closeback at the price of $2,000, the DCA E3 takes the cake.
Just gets all that cake. It's just a cakey boy.
So much cake.
Okay, what is it about the E3 that you love?
E3 does something for me that I didn't previously get out of the DCA metamaterial headphones, and it could be something about my personal HRTF, but the tuning on it was just buttery perfect. Just neutral across the board. I get nice, powerful, articulated bass. The treble doesn't feel peaky at all. It just feels smooth across the board and really neutral. I really, really liked it. I really loved the comfort of it. Just all around, it's a closed back that for me performs better than a lot of open backs.
Excellent. On to electronics.
Electronics. There wasn't a huge amount of sort of big releases this year. There was a lot of stuff from...
Well, there's the Apple dongle. I don't think that came out this year, though.
No, I think that was put in there as a joke. So I was going to ignore that one. There wasn't a huge amount of big releases for electronic stacks and amps this year, but there were a few. Most of the releases this year were things from Topping and SMSL, which, whilst good and did bring a slight improvement in measured performance, none of them I necessarily thought brought a big improvement in actual sound quality or even necessarily feature set, so there aren't many of those on this list. What we've got are the Ferrum Wandler, which is a DAC which I absolutely adored subjectively. Objectively, it's great, and it also brings a few features which other DACs just don't have, like an upsampling filter that actually conforms to Nyquist theory properly. The i5 Phantom, that was a really cool device because it's a headphone amplifier and an electrostatic energizer, but you can adjust the bias voltage. It's got an interesting SD card system. So no matter what electrostatic headphones you have, you can run all of them, or in fact, any headphone on one device. It's truly an all-in-one, and I'm hoping I might get to spend more time with that in future. Then there is the Hollow Bliss, which did technically come out in 2022, but right at the end, so I did put it on this list. And that for me, without spending silly money, is just the best amp that I've heard. It's absolutely perfect. I love that amp, other than how big it is. It's not going to fit on everyone's desk. And lastly, we should probably mention the JDS Atom 2. I've not heard that, but DMS, you've spent a bit of time with that one.
I got a notification on my phone, and it was a video of someone taking a giant isopod to a restaurant, and I just went straight into the void.
So like the blip, like you've been snapped out of existence for a little bit, and then you just got snapped back in.
Yeah, I have the JDS Atom Stack 2 here. It's really cool because it's an aluminum enclosure this time, which I still don't know how they're doing all of that at that price and still keeping it as good sounding as it is. They've got Type-C on the DAC. They've got 4.4 on the amp. It's just a little beast of a unit, and I'm really, really enjoying having it around. I mean, there's no secret that the Atom has been kind of a staple recommendation for pretty much anybody in a budget range for a number of years now, and I feel like the Atom Stack 2 is just going to kind of keep that legacy going.
It's the only DAC amp stack you need, right? That's sort of their wheelhouse, and this is just more of the only thing you need.
Well, that, and I use the Quest Style M15 a lot. Actually, there's a note for that. I love the M15, and the reason that I also have a desktop DAC amp setup is for things like my record player and CD player, which both could not connect to the M15 because it's only Type-C in, so I need something with analog inputs for those things.
So actually, on that, or similar kind of note, electronics component of the year is going to the Ferrum Wandler. That's a product which I think just sounds absolutely excellent. The performance it gives in that size and at that price is excellent. And the extra features, including an analog preamp. It's a full analog preamp, so you can connect your record player and stuff to it as well. It's not just a DAC. It's a fantastic product, so that's what I'm giving it to.
I wand one. All right, on to biggest disappointment.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah.
And we should clarify, this doesn't just mean the worst product. It's the product that we were excited for and then turned out to not be so great.
In this, we have a number of things. We have the Audivina, the IFI Diablo 2, the Moondrop Joker, the Moondrop Free DSP, and Project Red. Now, we're going to go through and explain why these are in here. The Audivina, well, I don't think any of us actually expected that one to be very good, but it was still disappointing.
The bar was set low, and somehow it was still lower than we expected. So that's in here, even though we weren't necessarily expecting it to be great. Love some of Hyphaman's headphones. Their closebacks don't have a great track record thus far. But the Audivina was a dumpster fire.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We expected it to be a dumpster, and it brought the fire.
The iFi Diablo 2. So this was disappointing for a few reasons. You should go and watch the full review because there's quite a bit of information there. The biggest thing is that it's simply nowhere near as powerful as they claim it is. This is a problem which existed on the Diablo 1 and still exists on the Diablo 2. I don't personally think that the performance for the money is particularly great, especially now that the price has been increased by about 50%. And it's also still missing some features that were existing on the IDSD signature. So for me, unfortunately, was misleading marketing, not really a performance improvement. In fact, it behaves almost identically to the Diablo 1, but it's way more expensive. So it's not an outright bad product, it's just disappointing compared to what some people might have hoped for.
And then there's a couple Moondrop products in here. There's the Joker and the Free DSP. And this is really where a lot of that sort of like disappointment concept comes in, because it's like these were things that people were quite excited for. The idea of a Moondrop closeback headphone sounds great. Moondrop being very well known in the IAM space for making exceptional products. And then the Free DSP concept is incredible, but it just was such a letdown in practice.
I was so excited for that.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe this is one where like I want them to go back to the drawing board, right? Because like the concept is so cool, like the idea of EQ in a cable, like being able to do EQ from a cable. It's And it's not entirely that it can't be fixed. In theory, they could fix it with some app and firmware updates. A lot of the problems aren't like actual hardware issues. It's just that, yeah, like you said, the promise of configurable EQ in a cable that you couldn't really, other than the USB-C connector, know that is any different from a normal cable is awesome. But the app, it's so restrictive in terms of how you can actually configure the EQ that it makes it borderline useless for anything other than small, really simple adjustments. And as a result, I was excited and then very disappointed. And then the last one here is Project Red. Now, this is actually a good product, a very good product. But you know, the hype was just, you know, through the moon with this one. It was just through the moon.
This is a disappointment only because the hype train was just, yeah, astronomical levels.
People were expecting this to be like a $200, $300 product, kind of like the Dusk, that would destroy flagship products. So that's what they were hoping for. But when it turned out to be a $50 product that's just a good $50 product, it was kind of like, well, the people who were interested in something that might be a bit more high end were left disappointed.
The tuning on it is exceptional. It's much better than any of the Harman-tuned IMs I've tried. The main thing for me was just that it's not as resolving, it's not as detailed as a Moondrop Kato, for instance. The Moondrop Kato is quite a bit more detailed than the
Hexa, Truthier Hexa, for example.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's various options, not that much more expensive, that are technically much more capable. So hey, hopefully in future we'll see something with a similar tuning with better technicalities, but at the moment it was not quite what the hype train was hoping for, but it's still a great product.
All right, so which one, what takes the achievement here for biggest disappointment?
I think in comparison to the potential of the product and what it actually delivered, I'm going to have to say the Moondrop Free DSP. It's a product which could have been so good at such a good price point and applicable to so many people, and it just didn't do the things that it was supposed to do.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that had so much potential, and that was such a letdown.
Cool. Okay, and the last one here, we finally come to it, the product of the year. And we had a lot of debate about this one because, you know, for a lot of these other categories, we could consider it based purely on sound quality, and kind of, you know, some of the other aspects of what make a product great were, you know, not as highly considered for some of those. But for this one, it really needed to be everything. It needed to be, you know, it needed to include things like build quality, you know, the comfort. It needed to include an X factor of some kind that just made it an exceptional product. And so the other consideration with this is that we haven't all heard every one of these products. So we actually came up with a little bit of a rubric or a criteria to be able to then eventually give percentage scores for this, to figure out what the product of the year was going to be for us. And we did end up with a little bit of a problem. But first, the products to consider with this, we considered 4 products here. The first one was the Odyssey Maxwell, then there's the DCA E3, then there's the Meze Empyrean 2, and then there's the Modhouse Tungsten. We discussed this at length over a week ago. We realized we had to wait. we had to come up with some better system of figuring this out. So eventually, yeah, we decided to go based on a weighted percentage. And the winner here, there's actually 2 winners. And I'm going to say it right now, maybe we can justify it and make sense of it. But the consensus winner is the Meze Empyrean 2. And the reason for that is it wasn't necessarily the best sounding product, but it was a very good sounding product. And all the rest of it, what made for a great product, like the comfort, the industrial design, just everything about it is like leaps and bounds above everything else. You know, just the full package for what you get for the Empyrean 2 is exceptional, and I don't think anybody's going to deny that.
I haven't heard it yet. I mean, if it's anything like the build of the original Empyrean, I can totally agree on all those points, but I can't comment subjectively yet.
The other concern is that the other one that technically scored higher here for our little, what do we call this? So it's like a little, it was a spreadsheet basically we put together. The other one that scored higher, yeah, for the weighted percentages here, was the DCA E3, but the consideration there is that DMS is the only one who's heard it. And so maybe for the rest of us, maybe the waveguide thing doesn't work as well. We don't know. So we can't really say that, you know, as a consensus pick, the DCA E3 would be the winner there. So we are going to give the product of the year to the Meze Empyrean 2, with the asterisk that this is not necessarily the best sounding product, nor is it necessarily the highest rated product overall, because it could be the E3 after all, after we've all had a chance to try it.
We weighted comfort pretty similarly to sound quality, and then aesthetics, build quality, and a couple other aspects. So it's not just about the sound. In fact, actually, out of curiosity, which one scored overall highest in terms of just sound quality?
E3, if you only consider DMS's, but consensus was Modhouse Tungsten. Yeah. So that's the thing I wanted to mention, is that it's actually kind of remarkable. I mean, Modhouse Tungsten, it was very high in consideration for product of the year here, and it just is a testament to what Ryan was able to achieve with the sound quality for that headphone.
The big thing about product of the year is it's about the overall product. So things like the Modhouse Tungsten, we gave the high-end open headphone of the year to, but product of the year is more about the big picture. So things we weighted in terms of comfort, build quality, just all kinds of things. The Empyrean is a bit easier to drive, and all those factors kind of combine to make it what it is.
The premiumness
versus
of
the Tungsten, I think we all rated really, really high in terms of sound quality.
Yeah, I think that was the toughest one, was to choose between the Tungsten and the Empyrean 2. And the fact that we all love the Tungsten so much is the reason why it is in high consideration on this list for product of the year. But, you know, based on, you know, the whole package, you know, thinking about everything together and just the goodness of product, we ended up just as a consensus having to give it to the Empyrean 2. And it's also based on, you know, the weighted percentages. So this is based on math, which is objective, and so therefore this is, you know, objectively the correct opinion.
Ultra objective.
I want to note on the Maxwell though, because that, whilst I don't think anyone's going to say, oh, it sounds as good as the Empyrean 2 or the Tungsten or anything like that, it was just so impressive for how much it packed into that price point and how much it changed a particular market segment. It's not really going after the typical high-end audio enthusiast, but just from a what existed in the competition compared to when that came along, that has to be just given a special mention as well.
And we loved all of these. So that basically does it for the best of 2023. Let's look forward to 2024. Let us know what your picks were for 2023.
So that is going to wrap this one up, guys. If you liked it, leave a like down below, a comment letting me know what you want to see in the future. If you want to get active in the community, you can at the Discord or the forum, both available at the link in the video description. And as always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Peace. What? This is a particularly horrific thing to consider as a pet.